My sister refused to invite me to the pool party, fearing I'd ruin her image with friends. Hey guys. Long-time lurker. First-time poster. Buckle up because I've got a family story for you. And let me tell you, it's a disaster. I've been sitting on this for a while, trying to figure out how to tell it. But now, after everything that's happened, I just need to get it out. So, let's start with some context, so you can understand the dynamics of my family. I'm 30 and male, and have always been the responsible one. I've been working as a construction foreman for almost a decade now, and while the pay is decent, my back is absolutely shot from all the heavy lifting. I started as a laborer at 22, but through a lot of grit, and showing up every single day, even when I was sick or hurt, I worked my way up. Now, I manage a crew, and we mainly handle commercial projects, like strip malls and office renovations. But here's the kicker, my parents, Carol and Steve, 58 and 60, are terrible with money. Not just a little bad, I'm talking about absolutely reckless. It wasn't always this way. Back when I was a kid, Dad had a decent job at a paper mill, and Mom worked part-time at a dentist's office. We weren't rich, but we had enough. Then, when I was in high school, the mill shut down, and that was when everything started to fall apart. Dad bounced between jobs, but nothing ever stuck. Mom started working full-time, but by then, they'd gotten used to a lifestyle they couldn't afford. Credit cards became their go-to solution for everything. New TV credit card. Vacation dots credit card. Car repairs. Yep, you guessed it. Credit card. By the time I graduated high school, they were drowning in debt. But they kept pretending everything was fine. College. Forget it. There was no way I could afford it with their finances in shambles. So I went straight into construction to help pay the bills while living at home. Then there's my younger sister, Carmen. She's 27. And well, let's just say she's even worse. Carmen calls herself an aspiring content creator. But let's be real, she's just another basic chick posting filtered selfies and unboxing videos to her 200 followers. Last year, she dropped $900 in a ring light setup and acted like she was going to be the next Kylie Jenner or something. But let's back up a bit. Carmen studied communications at the State College for 5 years. It took her an extra year to graduate because she kept changing her major. And now her degree is just gathering dust. After college, she worked at a marketing firm for 8 months before quitting because her boss didn't respect her vision. Since then, it's been one part-time retail job after another job. She quits the second they expect her to. Actually work. In between jobs, she lives rent-free at our parents' house, eating their food and running up their utilities while building her brand. Carmen tried starting an online clothing boutique once, burning through $15,000 of my parents' retirement money. She called it high-end fashion, but honestly, it was more like high-end garbage bags with sequins. The best part, she made cringy entrepreneur posts while the business was crashing and burning. Rise and grind. Boss babe. Meanwhile, she couldn't even ship the right sizes to people. It was a disaster. Last Christmas, Carmen gave me a shout-out package as my gift. She literally handed me a card with her Instagram profile printed on it, saying, "Congrats. You've won a featured post on Carmen Styles." Meanwhile, I had spent $350 in an Apple Watch for her, a gift she'd been hinting at for months. I even tried helping her with her business, building shelves, setting up spreadsheets, offering to handle shipping with my logistics experience. She brushed it all off, claiming my corporate mindset killed her creativity. 2 months later, she called me crying about internet bullies because people started posting negative reviews about her business. She expected me to call each person and make it right, because I'm good with difficult people. I refused. And she didn't speak to me for a month. The most peaceful month of my life. Honestly. My parents, well, they eat all of that up. Dad bought her a MacBook Pro for editing, which she uses to watch Netflix. Mom defends every single one of her failures, like it's some kind of badge of honor. Carmen's exploring her passions. No, Carmen's exploring your wallet. Every time I try to point out that maybe Carmen needs to get a real job, I'm the bad guy. You just don't understand the creator economy. Sam, they say. Well, I'm pretty sure the creator economy involves actually creating something of value, but hey, what do I know? The worst part. Carmen crashed her car while texting and driving. Big surprise. Mom called me instead of the insurance company. Carmen's too upset to deal with this right now. She explained, as if that made any sense. Turns out, they had dropped the comprehensive coverage on the car without telling me, despite the fact that I'd specifically paid for it 6 months earlier. The money had clearly gone to Carmen's business retreat in Miami. which suspiciously looked like a vacation. Since that boutique disaster 3 years ago, I've basically been their safety net, covering their mortgage $1.20 a month every time they fall short, which is practically every other month. Their house isn't even that nice, a 3-bedroom ranch in an aging suburb. They could have had it paid off by now if they stuck to their original 30-year mortgage. But instead, they've refinanced it multiple times. Now, they're 15 years in with 25 years still to go. I've also covered Carmen's car repairs $3.80 last year. Her car was in terrible shape, shot brakes, a timing belt ready to snap, bald tires. But no, she still managed to make it to Coachella that month, partying it up while I covered her bills. It was the same story with Dad's medical bills. I paid $5.20 for those because he refused to get cheaper insurance. Every time I buy groceries, the veggies rot, and the junk food disappears. He has the audacity to call me wheezing after climbing the stairs and complain that his doctor is trying to scam him by suggesting he lose weight and exercise. Then there's Mom, who insisted on buying the name brand blood pressure meds instead of the generic ones, because she read online that generics are made in China. When I tried explaining that they're the same compound, just cheaper, she accused me of wanting her to die to save a few bucks. I even had to cover their water bill and property taxes once when I was in the hospital after a work injury. I had a beam drop on my shoulder and tore my rotator cuff. The surgeon said I was lucky it wasn't worse, but Mom called me 4 times asking about the money. And when I finally explained the situation, she didn't even ask how I was doing. She just said, "We need that transfer today, Sam." All told, I've poured around $42.00 into their lives over the past 3 years. And meanwhile, I'm living in a tiny, run-down 1-bedroom apartment. My rent is $1.350 a month for 680 square feet. And the building is a joke. The fitness center has a rusty treadmill and 2 dumbbells in what used to be a storage closet. The pool is closed more often than it's open because of filter problems. But hey, it's all I can afford while I support 2 households. My buddy Derek kept telling me I was getting used, but I always brushed it off with the "they do the same for me" excuse, even though I knew they wouldn't spot me $50 if I was stranded. Derek's been watching the whole thing unfold for years, and even tried to intervene once, showing up with spreadsheets to break down how much money I could have saved if I stopped supporting them. I got mad, ignored him for 2 weeks, and then apologized when I realized he was right. Then last Thanksgiving, I caught the flu, the real deal, 103-degree fever. Felt like death. I called Mom to say I couldn't make dinner. Her response: "But who's going to carve the turkey? Your father's wrist is still sore from his golf game." Not, "Are you okay, or do you need anything?" Just concern about who would carve the turkey. I ended up dragging myself there anyway, sweating through dinner and giving everyone my flu. Dad had the nerve to complain that I ruined the holiday when he got sick 3 days later. But then came that call in June, the one that changed everything. So, where was I? Oh yeah, June, that call. It was a Wednesday night, and I was at home, just getting back from a brutal 12-hour day at work overseeing a concrete pour. It was ridiculously hot in my apartment, which still didn't have functioning air conditioning, despite the maintenance guy, Terry, swearing he'd come by to fix it every day for the past 2 weeks. I had this old window unit as backup, but it was struggling to keep up with the 94 heat. Every few minutes, it rattled like it was about to explode. I was sprawled out on the couch in basketball shorts, chugging ice water, trying to cool down when my phone lit up. It was Mom. Great. I answered it, expecting the usual grocery money or some last-minute request for help with their bills. But no, this time it was something different. "Hey, Sam," Mom said, in that weirdly cheerful voice that never felt right. "Just wanted to let you know Carmen's hosting a big pool party at her place for the 4th of July. We're covering everything. You know, setting it all up, buying the food, that kind of thing." I waited for the invite, but it didn't come. So, I asked, "Should I bring something?" "Oh, well," she let out this little awkward laugh. "Actually, Carmen doesn't want you there. She's invited some influencer friends, and she doesn't want them to see her. Less successful family members." No offense. I almost choked. I had to set my drink down, trying to hold back my anger. Are you kidding me? After everything I've done for these people, this is what it's come to. I couldn't even find the words for a second. "Are you serious, Mom?" I asked, my voice starting to shake with disbelief. "You're telling me that Carmen doesn't want me there because she doesn't want her influencer friends to see her? What? Working class's family?" Mom didn't even try to defend it. "Well, it's her big networking opportunity, Sam. She can't have you showing up in your work clothes talking about construction. It'll ruin her image. I looked down at my faded t-shirt with my company's logo on it, a t-shirt I've worn through years of hard labor, building my career from the ground up. A shirt that represents everything I've sacrificed. And that's what Carmen's ashamed of. I could feel the blood rush to my head. My hands started shaking. I wanted to scream. Mom, I live in a shoebox apartment because I've been paying your bills. I gave Carmen $3.0 last month for her social media course. And this is how she treats me. But she didn't care. All she said was, "Don't be so sensitive, Sam. It's for her career. She needs this." At this point, I'd had enough. I hung up on her and immediately opened my banking app. I scrolled through the transfers, the bills, the monthly support, the money I'd sent to cover their mortgages, car repairs, medical bills, everything. Over the last 4 months, I had sent them $9.80 so, just to keep them afloat. And then, I remembered. I had just booked a family getaway for the 4th of July, a surprise for them. It was supposed to be a sweet gesture. Something to give us all a break. I had even paid a $1,500 deposit for a lake house rental with a dock, where Dad used to love fishing before he got too lazy to bother anymore. It had enough bedrooms, so we wouldn't be on top of each other. A fire pit for making s'mores. The whole deal. I hovered over the cancel button, staring at the screen. I couldn't believe what I was about to do, but I didn't hesitate. I canceled the reservation. Refund processed. I sat there, phone in hand, and just let myself feel the anger that had been building up for years. All the times I'd skipped going out with friends, because I couldn't afford it. The vacation days I sold back to my company, just so I could send money to my family. The relationships that fizzled because I was always too stressed about money, or getting calls from my parents in the middle of dates. I thought of the time I was out with Melissa, this architect I'd met through work. We were having a nice dinner when Carmen called 5 times in a row. When I finally answered, Carmen was locked out of her Apple account and needed my password right then and there because she was in the middle of an Instagram live. Melissa never returned my calls after that night. The moment I hit cancel on the lake house reservation, I knew there was no turning back. For the first time in years, I allowed myself to feel something other than guilt, anger, and a deep, bone-deep exhaustion. I was done. I called my cousin Toby, who works in the scheduling department at the electric company. He'd been watching this all unfold for years. I laid out everything, the years of supporting my family, the constant drain on my finances, and now, this latest slap in the face with Carmen excluding me from her party, just because I work for a living. That's messed up, man. Toby said. Your sister's always been a taker, but your parents should know better. I had an idea. With the heat wave coming, there were going to be rolling blackouts in some neighborhoods to prevent the grid from overheating. Toby was in a position to make sure my parents' block would be one of the areas that had a scheduled outage during peak party hours on the 4th of July. He laughed when I suggested it. Dude, I love this. You sure you want to do it? Yeah, I said, grinning. It's perfect timing. I also reached out to Marcus, a buddy who works for an HVAC company. His team handles maintenance for the townhouse complex Carmen rented. I asked him to postpone a scheduled repair for Carmen's air conditioning unit. It was already struggling, but it wasn't anything dangerous yet. He agreed, moving the repair order to the after-holiday weekend pile. For the next few days, I kept everything under the radar. Dad called me asking for $200 for party supplies. No problem. I sent it. No questions asked. Mom texted about borrowing my coolers for the party, and I dropped them off with a smile. Carmen didn't contact me at all, except to ask me to boost her posts about the party, which I found hilarious. The nerve of her. Behind the scenes, I was getting ready to free myself from all this nonsense. I contacted my bank to remove my parents as authorized users on my backup credit card, something I had set up for emergencies, but had turned into their personal shopping cart. I changed all my passwords and PINs, and I even called my cell phone provider to remove Carmen from my family plan, where I'd been paying for her unlimited data for years. The day before the 4th of July, Toby swung by my place with a drink. All set for tomorrow. He grinned. You know it, I said. This heat wave's going to be brutal. Yeah, perfect timing, he replied, taking a sip. By the time July 4th rolled around, I made sure to stay off my phone. Carmen's Instagram was blowing up with pictures of the pool party preparations. Mom was arranging platters of food. Dad was wearing a ridiculous grill apron. And Carmen was posing in a new bikini with her friends by the pool. The hashtag family time was everywhere. And it was all smiles and rainbows. The food spread looked expensive: steaks, fancy charcuterie boards, catered desserts. There were even professional-looking decorations everywhere: balloon arches, custom banners, and a photo booth. It looked like an influencer's dream. And those pool floats. They were from my Amazon account. $300 worth of inflatable stuff she'd ordered by mistake, and never mentioned. I spent the day at a baseball game, with Derek, deliberately keeping my phone on silent. I bought a jersey, splurged on overpriced drinks, and had nachos and dessert. I'd made up my mind. Tonight was the night I stopped being their safety net. Derek could see it. "You going through with this?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "I'm done." The 4th of July came around. And by then, I was just trying to live my life for once. Derek and I had a blast at the baseball game, joking about my whole family's disaster of a situation. But it was all in good spirits. I felt a weight lifting off my shoulders, as I focused on something that wasn't my family's drama. I was determined to enjoy the day, something I hadn't done in ages. Meanwhile, I could see from my social media feed that Carmen's party was well underway. The posts started rolling in, showcasing what looked like a picture-perfect influencer event. Fancy food, perfect decor, and Carmen, of course, posing with her friends, all smiles and a new bikini, trying to make it look like the social event of the year. #blessed, #family time. She posted, her carefully curated life flashing in everyone's feeds. But I knew the truth: none of this was real. It was a smokescreen, a manufactured, desperate attempt to build the illusion of a perfect life. I spent the day in silence, deliberately not checking my phone, not letting their chaos into my head. Derek kept making sure I didn't cave. "You really sticking it to them?" he asked, a grin on his face as we grabbed beers in the stands. "Yeah," I said, my mind firm on the decision. "Tonight's the night I'm finally done." After the game, we got back to my place around 11:45 p.m. I had my phone on silent, but it was still blowing up when I checked it. The first few notifications were expected: missed calls, texts, random emails. Then the floodgates opened. My phone buzzed nonstop with messages from Mom, Dad, and Carmen. The power went out at Carmen's place. My parents' neighborhood had been hit with a planned maintenance outage Toby had orchestrated. Right at the peak of the party, I had to bite back a grin as I read the messages. "Sam, the power just went out. The whole block is down, and it's hot as hell in here. Call us back." My dad texted. The urgency in his words made me want to laugh. And then Carmen's texts started rolling in. "What the hell did you do? The power's out, and all my influencer friends are leaving. My makeup's running. Sam, my refrigerator full of party food is going to spoil. This is thousands of dollars down the drain." I scrolled through the messages, feeling a twisted sense of satisfaction. The heat wave was brutal, and with the power gone, everything was falling apart. The party had started to collapse. Carmen's Instagram was blowing up with posts about how the universe was testing her, and how this was just a minor setback in her influencer journey. One of her friends had posted a snarky comment: "Thanks for the sweatfest at Carmen Styles. Maybe check your electricity bill next time." Another one read, "Exclusive event. Couldn't even keep the lights on. Fail." I couldn't help but laugh. Her perfect, curated life was cracking at the seams. And I was just a spectator to the whole thing. I knew the AC had failed earlier, but it wasn't supposed to cause this much trouble. Marcus had made sure that the emergency repair crew wouldn't fix Carmen's AC until after the holiday weekend. When the power went out, and the air conditioning failed completely around 10 p.m., the heat inside the townhouse was unbearable. Carmen's influencer friends started leaving one by one, complaining about the heat, the darkness, and how they couldn't even get good selfies in such a sweatshop of a party. But that wasn't all. Carmen's carefully curated event had become a disaster. My parents, bless their hearts, tried to salvage it by bringing over battery-powered lanterns. But by the time they arrived, it was too late. The food was already starting to spoil. The drinks were warm, and there was no music or fans to help cool the place down. The vibe was completely gone, and her so-called networking opportunity had fizzled into nothing. I imagined her influencers' friends trying to keep up their social media facades, posting from the heat-stricken house. And then the messages got worse. My parents were frantic. "Sam, it's your dad's blood pressure. It's through the roof because of this heat. If anything happens to him, it's on you." I could feel my stomach tighten. The guilt trip had already started. They always knew how to pull that card. But I was done. Then came Carmen's final text for the night. "I've lost all my credibility because of you. A Lifestyle by Jenna unfollowed me. She was going to feature me in her next collab. You ruined everything." I put my phone down and took a deep breath. The satisfaction of seeing their world implode was bittersweet. I had no intention of coming to their rescue this time. I went to bed, feeling surprisingly calm. For the first time in years, I wasn't waking up in the middle of the night, stressing about what crisis my family was dealing with. I wasn't lying awake wondering how I was going to send money to cover their bills, or worrying about whether or not Carmen would ask for more money for another one of her business opportunities. The next morning, the flood of notifications started again. My phone was blowing up with messages. Missed calls, texts, voicemails, 47 missed calls, 23 voicemails, 89 text messages. I went through them all, grinning from ear to ear as I read the increasingly desperate messages from my family. Mom was calling, non-stop, pleading for help. Carmen was ranting about how her party was a failure. Dad was upset, saying things like, "We need help right now and fix this." But it was the social media posts that really got me. Carmen posted an update about the party being ruined, tagged with hashtags like #UniverseTestingMe and #StayStrong. Her followers flooded the comments with "Stay strong" and "You got this" messages, not knowing the whole situation was a complete lie. It was all a performance, and I was finally free of it. By noon, my phone rang again, but this time it was Dad, and he wasn't backing down. "We need to talk," he said, his voice tight. "You need to come over here and fix this. The power's still out, and now the lake house reservation is gone. What the hell did you do?" I leaned against the doorframe of my apartment, the cool AC washing over me. I could hear the frustration in Dad's voice, and I couldn't help but smile. "Guess I'm not family enough for your party, but I'm family enough to fix your problems." "Huh? This isn't funny." "Sam," Dad shouted, "it's 95 degrees in here. Fix it now." I stepped forward, the words I'd been holding in for years finally coming to a head. "You know what's not funny? Being treated like dirt after I've carried all of you financially for years." Carmen pushed past Dad, her face twisted with anger. "You did this on purpose," she accused. "You ruined everything. I had real influencers there. This could have been my big break." I took a step closer, the frustration boiling over. "Oh, like that chick with 5.00 followers who sells knockoff handbags from her mom's basement. But sure, I'm the embarrassment." She sneered at me. "You're just jealous, because I'm building something while you swing hammers all day like a caveman." "You're building what, Carmen?" I said, pulling out my phone. "Debt, delusion. You've never earned an honest dollar in your life." I opened my banking app. "Want to see something interesting? Here's what I've sent you in the past year alone." I scrolled through the transfers, each one more frustrating than the last $600, $850, $1.20 so. On and on, until I got to the grand total, $16.40 so just to Carmen. "Where's that building something money coming from?" "Huh?" I asked. Mom jumped in, horrified. "Sam, that's enough. How dare you speak to your sister like that after everything we've done for you?" That was it. Something in me snapped. "All you've done for me? Are you freaking kidding me?" I shouted. "I've given you $42.00 in 3 years. I live in a hole of an apartment, while Carmen posts about a luxury lifestyle from a house I basically pay for." Carmen rolled her eyes. "Whatever. Can I use your shower? I have a sponsored post due today. And I look like crap." I stared at her, my blood boiling. "Get out. All of you. Get the hell out of my building." "What do you mean, get out?" Mom started, her voice trembling. "I mean, get out," I yelled, loud enough for my neighbor's door to crack open. "I'm done being your freaking wallet. Figure it out yourselves." Carmen hissed as Dad pulled her away. "You're dead to me." The door slammed behind them, cutting off their angry shouts. For the first time in years, I felt like I could finally breathe. The aftermath was nothing like I expected. For the first time in years, I felt free, like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. My family was finally out of my apartment, and I was done bailing them out. But what came next was more than I could have anticipated. The next morning, I woke up to dozens of texts, missed calls, and voicemails. I didn't even bother listening to them. I had heard enough over the years. Instead, I spent the morning doing something I hadn't been able to do in forever. I focused on myself. I had already started making plans to move on. I reached out to my bank to freeze the joint account. I shared with my parents. I had been quietly helping them out with everything for so long. But now I was cutting off that safety net. I also removed Carmen from my family cell phone plan, something I had been paying for without question for years. I changed my passwords, locked down my credit, and canceled automatic payments I had set up for their bills. The total amount I would save each month was almost $1.90 so. It felt surreal to finally have that kind of freedom. Then, I did something for myself that I'd never done before. I booked a flight to Bali. 3 weeks from then, I'd be on a beach, far away from all the drama. I've always dreamed of traveling, But I never had the chance to because I was too busy fixing my family's mistakes. But now, I wasn't going to let their problems hold me back anymore. The total cost for the trip, flights, accommodations, and excursions came to just over $4.30, so less than I would typically spend supporting their mess in a month. It felt amazing to finally do something for me. For once, I wasn't going to let them spoil my vacation. Though, I kept my phone on silent for the most part. But I couldn't help checking it every now and then. The family group chat was exploding. Mom was texting, calling, and leaving voicemails, all of them drenched in guilt and manipulation. Dad followed up with more calls, demanding that I fix things, telling me I was going to regret cutting them off. But the best part, Carmen, who had been posting about her perfect influencer life, went into full victim mode. She posted these tearful, dramatic stories about how her family had abandoned her, dropping hashtags like #healingjourney and claiming that money had changed me. She ranted about how she was struggling and how I was the one ruining everything. I just laughed. The irony was rich. The influencer, the one who lived off borrowed money, was now playing the victim. She even posted a picture of herself sitting in a luxury hotel room, with a caption about self-care while conveniently forgetting the $3. I had given her for her business course that never amounted to anything. My cousin Toby kept me updated on the fallout. Apparently, my parents were telling everyone that I had lost it, and was being cruel for cutting them off. They were playing the victim hard. Toby said that Mom had been posting on Facebook about how they were struggling with medical bills, and how they couldn't make ends meet, without mentioning that I had paid for everything for years. It didn't take long for the truth to come out. The more Carmen bragged about her hardships and her struggles on social media, the more people started asking questions. Her followers, mostly friends from college, who knew the truth, started putting two and two together. They realized that her luxury lifestyle was built on lies and stolen money. The bubble burst. Her Instagram, once a place for curated perfection, became a platform for backlash. People were calling her out, asking how she could lie so openly while accepting handouts from her family and pretending it was all her own success. But things got worse for them. When I got back from my trip, I had 3 glorious weeks in Bali. The beaches were stunning, the food was amazing, and the people were incredible. For the first time in years, I was able to completely disconnect. I made new friends, went hiking, explored, and just enjoyed life without worrying about someone calling me for money or needing me to fix their problems. When I landed back home, I was feeling lighter than I had in a long time. I turned on my phone, and of course, the flood of messages began. But this time, I wasn't anxious. I wasn't going to let them guilt trip me into doing anything. I deleted the missed calls and texts without reading them. But something felt off when I got back to my apartment. The front desk guy gave me a weird look when I walked in. "Hey man, your family's been causing scenes here almost every day. You good?" That made me pause. My family, causing scenes. Great. I walked up to my apartment, and the moment I opened the door, I knew something was wrong. My gut instinct was right. Someone had broken into my apartment. I looked around. Drawers had been pulled out. My filing cabinet was a mess, and all my important documents, things like my social security card and birth certificate, were missing. But the worst part, I checked my desk, where I kept my emergency cash in a locked fireproof box. The box was still there, but the money inside $2.50 was gone. They had taken my emergency cash. They had stolen from me. I didn't even hesitate. I called the police immediately and filed a report for theft and identity fraud. I called my bank, and they told me that, luckily, I had set up 2-factor authentication before I left. My parents had tried to access my accounts, but they couldn't get in. They hadn't counted on me being proactive. My bank had flagged the attempts as suspicious and locked everything down tight. But what really set my blood on fire was when I checked my credit report. 4 new credit cards had been opened in my name. 4. And they were already maxed out. A loan application had been filed using my information. My family had stolen my identity while I was on vacation. I couldn't believe it. I called Toby to fill him in on what had happened. "They've gone too far this time," I said. Toby was silent for a moment. Then he spoke. "They're telling everyone you had a mental breakdown. Man, your mom's been playing the victim card hard. Telling people how you've abandoned them, how you're cruel. But get this, Carmen's been bragging about getting back at you. Telling people she taught you a lesson about family loyalty. She's not even trying to hide it anymore." I was fuming, but I stayed calm. I knew what I had to do. I gathered all the evidence, bank statements, credit reports, the reports from my bank, and the police, and went straight to the police station. I filed everything with them. And within 48 hours, My parents and Carmen were arrested for theft and identity fraud. The trial was something. My family's defense was pathetic. They claimed they were just taking what they were owed for raising me. But the jury didn't buy it. Neither did the judge. In the end, my parents got probation and mandatory financial counseling. Carmen, on the other hand, wasn't so lucky. Her old shoplifting charge, combined with the theft and identity fraud, earned her 18 months in prison. Her courtroom meltdown, where she cried about how her influencer career was ruined, only made things worse for her. The best part, the restitution order. They have to pay back everything they stole from me, plus damages for the identity theft. Every month, a check comes to me instead of from me. How's that for karma? As for me, I've already started looking for a new place. I'm done with this apartment. I want a house in a better neighborhood. One with good security, and no spare keys handed out to anyone. My credit is recovering slowly, but it's getting there. And for the first time in my life, I'm actually saving money. It feels good. It feels right. But most of all, I'm done. I've learned my lesson. And I'm not going to let anyone family or not take advantage of me again.